In 2016, after Titanfall had launched right between Battlefield 1 and Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, all but guaranteeing that the game would be a commercial failure, Vince Zampella, the head of Respawn Studios, was being interviewed by a games journalist, and also present was a PR representative of EA. The journalist asked Vince Zampella, "So, given the rocky launch, what's the future of the Titanfall franchise?" To which Vince Zampella responded something along the lines of, "It's too early to tell." The EA PR person in the room then interjected and said, "What we've said is that we're committed to the franchise." Vince Zampella looked at the games journalist and said, "So yeah, whatever the fuck that means." There are two things we can take away from this story. The first is that Vince Zampella doesn't take any shit. Secondly, we now know what the fuck that means. Apex Legends is the next entry in the Titanfall franchise. It's free to play and it's out now on PC, on Xbox, and on PS4. I'm sure we can expect a Soulja Boy console release very soon. The elephant in the room, of course, is that this is the game we're getting instead of Titanfall 3. Respawn has already confirmed that there is another Titanfall game coming this year, but it won't be Titanfall 3. It will instead be a unique twist on the genre. We don't know what that means, but we know it is not Titanfall 3. I know there's a lot of commentary out there that EA crudely forced Respawn to abandon Titanfall 3 and forced them to make some cheap, rushed, asset-flipped cash-in on an already saturated genre, but that just isn't true. Respawn are pretty badass and they're pretty straight up with their community. They've made clear that they chose to go this direction with their game and that EA had no hand in its development whatsoever. Vince Zampella clearly does not fuck around. If he's got some beef, he's probably gonna air it. If he says his team wanted to make this game, then I believe them. While I still wish that we could enjoy the brilliance of another Titanfall campaign, and I would have loved to see Titanfall's multiplayer finally get the recognition it deserves, this is the game that Respawn wanted to make, and you can absolutely feel their commitment to it in every part of the game. Apex Legends is just such a great surprise that comes out of absolutely nowhere, and it's just totally knocked it out of the park. From its innovation, its fundamental shooting mechanics, its map design, its outstanding UI, its technical performance, and even its marketing. Already, it has become a case study for how to deliver a successful, free-to-play game into a crowded and frankly hostile market. So, let's break down what makes Apex Legends so special. The defining quality of Apex Legends is its innovation through amalgamation. While there are definitely some new ideas here, a lot of the ideas are borrowed from elsewhere, like the hero kits from hero shooters like Overwatch, or the contextual ping system which has been used in a whole bunch of games, or the downhill slide mechanics from something like Ring of Elysium. You can look at these borrowings and call it lazy stealing or reskinning, but most great innovation is just borrowing things that already exist and whacking them together in a new way. Just like the Soulja Boy console. Apex Legends brings so many new and existing ideas together so brilliantly that you cannot but remark how fresh the game feels. At its core, Apex Legends is a Battle Royale game. You are dropped into a ring with 59 other people, and you want to become among the last few people standing. I say among the last few because one of the many unique twists in Apex Legends is that it is a squad-based Battle Royale game. There is no solo queue at all. You either queue with one or two other people, or you're auto-match made with two random strangers. You go into character select and you take turns choosing a legend, and with basically no loading whatsoever, you're off. A lot of people are demanding that a solo queue be added to Apex Legends, and I really do get that request, but it's almost like saying that they should add solo queue to Rainbow Six Siege or Overwatch. Yes, it could work, but it would just be less of a game. There are already so many Battle Royale games that let you lone wolf it. Apex Legends doesn't need to be among those. It focuses on team play and group synergy underpinned by some first-class hero design. The heroes in this game, they're really great. They have a lot of personality, and it's clear they've taken strong cues from Overwatch here. Each of them have a really clear identity that comes through so distinctly with their voice acting and their animations.
This is my favorite part. Exciting!
I really love them, and I really hope we see cinematic shorts and fake beef and novels and comics and whatever else all that good stuff that Blizzard has brought to Overwatch. The hero kits are comprised of a passive ability, an active ability on a relatively short cooldown, and an ultimate ability on a really long cooldown. So for example, Mirage's passive is that when he gets knocked down, he creates a decoy of himself to trick opponents. His active is that he can send out a decoy to a specific location to bamboozle the enemy, like this.
Reloading.
And he can use his ultimate to send out a whole bunch of decoys while he becomes invisible and then can safely reposition.
Giving him the chimney.
That's one character. There are 8, and each of them have a kit that is as interesting, as flexible, and as fun. Just like, let me show you one more. Wraith. Now, this is a character that has an active that makes her invulnerable for a time, and an ultimate that lets her create portals between 2 points. So here, a squad mate and I were pinned down under a cliff, and we couldn't get out because to do so would mean certain death. The enemy had the higher ground. So our Wraith teammate was like, don't worry, I got this. He drops a portal way out in the distance. He uses his active ability to become invulnerable so he can run up to us. He drops a portal next to us, and then we can all just piece out of there together through that portal. It was just so good. And then this, in another map, when we knew there were enemies nearby, but we weren't really sure where they were, and we wanted to get a care package that had dropped on the ground in the distance. Rather than all 3 of us go out there, our Wraith drops a portal on us, they haul ass to the other side of the map, and they drop a portal on top of the care package. We travel this huge distance to arrive completely safe on the other side. There's so much shit that's possible with these kits that I could spend an hour just talking about all of the circumstances I've already been in, and it's only been out for a few days. If you choose to give this a go, you're gonna see so much ingenuity and imagination at play. Creative thinking and improvisation is not possible in most games, but Apex allows for that because it's built a highly flexible, functional, and diverse framework for hero abilities, and that is not easy to do. It doesn't hurt that these ability-driven moments are underpinned by some extremely strong first-person shooter fundamentals, but what else would you expect from the likes of Respawn? Shooting in this game, it feels good. A lot of the weapons are brought back from Titanfall 2, and just like there, the weapon design feels broad in its range, and yet each tool within that range feels functional and specialized. Weapon feedback is great, sound design is awesome, you get clear hit markers and damage numbers when you damage an enemy, so you know that you're actually doing something. I know this sounds dumb, but a lot of games don't get this right, and Respawn totally gets it right here. There are some problems though, namely in the area of time to kill. Time to kill is pretty good in this game until you go up against someone who has purple or level 3 armor, at which point that person has a lot of health and they are very tough to bring down. Now, it's clear to me that this is by design because it forces more coordinated squad play to mark targets and bring them down fast, and it also makes your shield recharge mechanic more meaningful since it takes a really long time to refill 4 shield segments and you're really exposed during that time. Personally, I think this TTK needs some fine-tuning. It feels just a touch too high with that purple armor in play, and if that could be brought down just a touch, I think it would be an improvement. Movement is definitely a sticking point for a lot of people. Titanfall 2 had possibly the best movement system in any shooting game ever made. Just look at these crazy wall running montage clips on YouTube. It's absolutely nuts what people can do. Controversially, Apex Legends doesn't have wall running. I'm disappointed by this because wall running was literally my favorite thing to do in Titanfall 2, but Respawn have said that they tried it and it didn't work, and ultimately I trust them to understand this stuff better than we do. Despite this absence, movement in Apex Legends is solid, with a slide mechanic allowing for quick movements during engagements, and the ability to slide quickly down hills, making it much faster to move between different map areas. And this is actually a really interesting point to touch on here, map design. Most Battle Royale games have a sort of flat map with a bunch of landmarks on them separated by a whole lot of nothing. Apex Legends map is actually a series of self-contained areas that are walled off from one another, and they have specific points of entry and exit. This does really big things to the flow of the game, and is actually one of the most unsung elements of its success. Firstly, it creates this feeling that each area you're in is more like a traditional map in a multiplayer shooter. When you step into these areas, you're in them, and you have to fight in them. You can't escape them in any 360 direction like you can in PUBG or whatever. The space is finite and it's closed off, so retreat is actually a far more difficult option. This is even more the case when you notice that entry points to each area are typically elevated and look down over the area you're entering. This makes it really easy to slide quickly into the space and very difficult to run out. Anyone trying to breach a new area while under enemy fire will have a much easier time of entering these spaces because they can move really quickly. And this is important because a huge part of Battle Royale games is typically just camping the edge of a circle and waiting for people to be pushed in. Now, people can move in quickly and safely so that a fair firefight can occur, rather than a sniper shooting gallery. Thirdly, because the game is shuttling people into these choke points, you're going to see more action more often in those spaces. These thoroughfares are places where you'll often bump into other squads, and because they're completely enclosed spaces, they create some really tense close combat engagements. Finally, to mix things up completely, the game has these vertical zipline things that allow you to basically shoot straight up into the air and piece out of an area, or jump an area wall into another section, or whatever. If you're pinned down and it looks like there's no way you're getting out alive, these ziplines can be a godsend if you manage to make it to them. I've really only spoken about the map structure so far, but there's so much more to the map design, like the range of locations, the design of internal spaces, the theme of some of these spaces. There's a lot, but let's just say that the map is, in my view, the best designed Battle Royale map I've ever played. I really do think it's fantastic. I've never played a game that was as influenced by its UI. The UI in Apex Legends completely transforms the experience. I know what you're thinking, what the fuck, who cares about UI? But trust me, you definitely want to hear this. Now, I'm the guy in multiplayer shooters that never talks on the mic, ever. I hate it. I hate getting into groups with Rambo McSwaggins who self-appoints himself leader of the gang, starts barking orders at me and then calls me gay when I don't do exactly what he says. Fuck all that. So, when I learned that Apex Legends was squad only, I was very hesitant. But you actually don't need to talk to anyone when you play Apex Legends because the ping system they've implemented is so goddamn perfect that it does all of the talking for you. With the press of a button, I can ping a location suggesting we move there.
Let's go this way.
I can ping enemies I'm seeing in the distance.
Putting my eyes on. Making contact here.
I can ping a door to warn my teammates that enemies have recently been through that area.
This place has seen activity.
And all of it is voice, so my team don't need to understand complex ping icons or read text or whatever, they just listen and follow. But it gets even better than that. I can ping an item on the ground to tell my teammates that it's there. Not only will it show up on their map, but my character will literally voice the name of that item and its level.
Backpack here. Level 1.
I can open my inventory and ping an empty weapon slot to tell my team that I am looking for a specific weapon attachment. I mean, what the fuck? Who are these UI developers and why are they not in charge of Anthem? And on top of all of this, there's a chat window on PC, something that so many games these days are reluctant to implement.
You're a champion, my dude.
And it has text-to-speech, so your teammates don't have to read. Not only does this make a lot of sense, it's also fantastic for players with a disability, those who aren't confident speaking English or other languages, those who suffer from social anxiety, or those that just don't like speaking in online games like myself. Every game needs this, every single one. All these features are completely game-changing. I have never seen a UI system this developed in a multiplayer game. It completely removes the need to speak while also making true communication and collaboration possible. I can work with my team here without ever speaking to them, and that is just so good. Here's a quote that'll knock your socks off. When asked why Respawn was releasing Apex Legends this way without any marketing hype and just putting it out there as soon as it was announced, Respawn producer Drew McCoy told Eurogamer, "We're doing a free-to-play game with essentially loot boxes after we were bought by EA and it's not Titanfall 3. It's the perfect recipe for a marketing plan to go awry, so why have that? Let's just ship the game and let our players play it." See, I told you Respawn know what's up. This is them basically recognizing the toxic brand association of EA, so they said, fuck it, just put it out there, they'll understand. Well, yeah, we did understand. We played it, and it was really good, and everyone said so. It's an overnight smash, and that could have only happened if they launched the way they did. It was a self-aware stroke of marketing genius. But all of this could have blown up had the technical aspects not been right. Most multiplayer games these days have multiple buggy betas before launching just as buggy. Apex Legends had no beta whatsoever, and it launched brilliantly. Minimal server downtime, minimal bugs and issues, and a PC port that was actually made for PCs, with a generous suite of options and menus that don't feel like you're navigating Windows 95. The monetization model is a mix of good and bad. It's mainly cosmetic, except for 2 characters who have to be unlocked, but you can grind for them in a reasonable amount of time. I actually chose to buy them because I wanted to sling Respawn a few bucks to say thank you for making such a terrific game. There is a store where you're able to buy specific weapon skins, and these rotate through regularly. Sadly, there are also loot boxes, and as I've said on many occasions, I don't like loot boxes. I think they're shitty and exploitative because they aim to make you spend more than you otherwise need to in order to obtain the things that you want. The battle for loot boxes in premium games is ongoing, but the battle for loot boxes in free-to-play games is well and truly lost. And it seems that the majority of people are very much okay with these being a core part of free-to-play monetization. Personally, I would have much preferred a larger storefront with the ability to purchase exactly what I want rather than having to gamble for it. Still, there are no pay-to-win elements here, so that's great, and as I said, you can earn the 2 playable characters in a reasonable amount of time. With the exception of the gambling-based loot boxes, I think it's an overall good news story for the way that Respawn and EA have monetized this game. And for the love of God, please do not compare Apex's monetizations to Anthem's, because I know that's coming in the comment section. If you aren't willing to unpack the nuance that exists between a free-to-play game offering $20 skins versus a premium $60 game potentially doing the same thing, then I don't know what to tell you. When I reviewed Call of Duty Black Ops 4, a review I ended up taking down because lol, no. I said that I enjoyed Blackout because it was basically PUBG that didn't suck. It did almost nothing to innovate on the genre, and while I was glad it existed, I was also like, yeah, cool, what else you got? I mean, these guys dropped their single-player campaign to make this, and it just felt functional rather than remarkable. It felt like a very basic continuation rather than an evolution. Well, Apex Legends does feel remarkable. Apex Legends does feel like an evolution. It's the most fun I've ever had playing a Battle Royale game. It borrows heavily from its contemporaries and games outside its own genre, and it adds a whole host of new ideas. It offers up some industry-defining UI and social systems, and all of its technical aspects are sound, and it's free. So congratulations Respawn for creating something so fantastic and for dropping it in a way that cuts through all the noise. For anyone on the fence about it, just download it and try it. You got nothing to lose, and I've already heard from a bunch of people who have historically hated this genre but find themselves really liking it. I've never been a huge Battle Royale person myself, but I'm really enjoying this. I definitely plan to play a lot more, so yeah, check it out.